Okay, so now we are going to bring up Susan Hamady. I'm going to make her a co-host. She is our next artist. Hi, Susan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
You can
I'm
hear
gonna,
me?
yep, I can hear you. I'm
And I
gonna give some
start
input.
my video, it says.
Yep, let me get your video going.
Oh, it says to start my video. The co-host has asked you to start your video.
Yep,
Should I click on it?
you bet.
Okay.
Okay, folks, this is artist Susan Hamady. Susan uses watercolor and some acrylics in her paintings with mixed media, pen and ink, calligraphy, and some hand-done photographic processes. At this time, she's up and ready. So, Susan, if you're all set, then I'm going to bow out and let you take over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm not filling the screen very much though.
You're good. You look good.
Okay, I can't see myself.
Yeah, you're perfect.
I can't see myself here on my screen.
Oh, okay. But we got you. We can see you.
All right, I'll just go for it then. Hi, my name is Susan Hamady, Hamady. I am an artist. And I believe everyone has a story, but here I am telling you a bit of mine. So thank you for tuning in. Art, well, it might have been encouraged by my mother, holding up two different red colors and asking me to tell her the difference between the two when I was a little girl. My dad's love and need to travel, which opened up vistas and points of view and encouraged my similar love. Hey, my brother saying, look at that, and pointing out how color looks so different outside against the gray of rain. Look at that, look at that. Seemed to be a motto in my life. I'm sure many of you did this. Looking at the clouds and imagining faces, animals, emotions, from the amorphous shapes which you see there in the sky. Amorphous, as I tell my college students, means without particular shape or form. But you can always imagine something. One day, I took a bowl of strawberries my mother was saving in the quote icebox, although it was called a refrigerator back then, really, and carefully laying her handmade colorful Afghan on the grass and gazing at the sky, looking at those clouds. I was 3 years old. I still have that Afghan, and I believe my course was set. I was always taking art classes, going to plays, concerts, and musicals, taking dance and performing in ballet, modern dance, plays. I still do these things. One day, many years ago, I was doing a solo play in a gallery. A friend of mine had her gallery. This play was written for me. And someone approached me and said that I should do this outdoor art show. I had no idea what she was talking about. Until that time, I had only seen galleries and museums with art. I had some paintings hanging in the gallery. I was also quite surprised when other artists there really liked my work. Well, I did the outdoor show and did really well and got down on my knees and said thank you. From there, I have done shows all around Michigan. I've exhibited in Florida, Ohio, go blue, Indiana, Texas, Kansas. I've been in various galleries, including one in New York City. I thought people got my work just because they liked me, not necessarily liked my art. But one day a lady in the front of my booth bought something and I had not even talked to her yet. So that was cool. Then when I talked to her, she wanted her money back. That's not true. Okay. All these years later, it is still magical to me that people, me included, can be so moved by artists' creations. Let me tell you a story. When I was 20, I lived in Paris for the summer. I paid my own way and was hoping to learn French. I had studied it in college and couldn't carry on a conversation. So I immersed myself in the culture. I walked all over Paris and went to all the museums using the Michelin walking guidebook. At one museum, I saw a large painting full of light and color. And I personally started to vibrate with an incredible joy. It could even have been an out-of-body experience, seriously. I found it was a painting by Claude Monet. Have you ever had that kind of experience looking at art or listening to music or any other aesthetic event like that, looking at a sunset, seeing a rainbow? Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so why do I do art? Oh man, it seems to have, I have to. It seems to have such pleasure when I get it right. It absorbs my attention. It helps me to look for beauty and design. It is something I like to share. And truly, I believe the function of the artist is to dream and help shape the future. I'm getting kind of serious here. I am always striving for a better future. And if what I can do is to uplift or enhance someone's life, then my purpose is served. So I do paintings like Karen was saying, watercolor mostly, sometimes oil or acrylic. I do collage, wood carving, pen and ink, calligraphy, mixtures of all of these, also known as mixed media. I do photographs, alternative photography, which are processes by hand. There's a whole variety of techniques that are involved in this. I work in the darkroom from time to time. So maybe at this point, I could show you a few things. Okay, so this is a new gig for all of us here. All right, well here right behind me, you can see it is a still life. This is a watercolor. I think flowers are beautiful and hopeful, and they sit still. Not so long ago, I read that Monet said, if it weren't for flowers, I would not have been a painter. I don't know if that's true, but I like the idea. Here's a more recent one that's in acrylic that I just did. I have painted just about every flower that I can grow or lay my hands on, from spring to fall and Christmas poinsettias and cactus. Here's another larger one. I don't know if it'll fit totally in the screen, but it's kind of tall. I'll just kind of drop it and then move it up. And that's called a florist bouquet. It's just a variety of flowers all put together, about 16 by 20. Other still lifes include fruits and vegetables and various cloths and other objects like cool bottles and things like that. Okay, this one should fit on the screen pretty well. Here is feline. This is a mixed media, pen and ink. Here's the pen, and here's the ink. You dip the, can you see this? Dip the thing into the ink, and then you draw with the ink. You have to make sure you don't get too much ink on here and can control that pretty well. Okay, so this is feline, and it's watercolor with a page of the dictionary with the word feline on it. This is actually a note card based on the larger painting. Okay, so I have done many cat paintings, fish, animals. People ask me, well, what do I paint? Well, I've been doing it for so long, I guess I painted everything. Landscape. This is kind of an autumn landscape. And I like doing landscape. I've been doing it for the past many years now. And I like showing, the way you can show distance is by graying out the horizon line or wherever the farthest way point is. Colors are brighter as you're closer to it. The details are more when they're in the front. There's a lot of ways to show distance. So I was really happy with this one because it was showing a lot of those principles of showing distance. Here's another one. This is down in Kentucky. This is from a photograph I took. It's kind of still in process, but it might be done. I've been surprised by how much people really like landscapes of mine. I don't know why. It's just because it's something relatively new. I generally use photographs that I have taken. I do trees, pathways, seascapes, water views, and so on. And that was a couple of them that I was going to show you. Okay, so I do calligraphy too. Here are a few examples. I think if you can read it, it says, this is why I keep doing them, because I don't remember everything I write. We would all could all learn a lot from crayons. You know, some are colorful, some are odd colors, some are pretty, some are weird, so on. But they all have to sit in the same box. It's just a kind of sweet way of saying, hey, we can all get along with each other. So I have some more, but calligraphy is the art of beautiful handwriting and employing thick lines and thin lines. So you use that pen and ink thing again. This pen, you can turn it and you can paint with a thin line, and then you turn it the other way and it's got a flat top, and you can make a thick line. So you kind of are always turning your pen to do it. Mrs. Johnson, one of my favorite elementary school teachers, gave me very excellent awards for my calligraphy, not actually for my handwriting. This is funny to me now because I do calligraphy for a living, but sometimes people cannot read my actual handwriting. Not anymore anyway. So I have a thick folder full of quotes. Some I have written, or they are anonymous or part of the common domain, like Shakespeare or Mark Twain. Here's a fun one. Optimism is a cheerful frame of mind that enables the tea kettle to sing when he's into hot water up to its nose, or something like that. I found that one in Florida ages ago in some newspaper by a guy named Hugh Helfer, not Hugh Hefner, but Helfer. This one, I've said it so long, I guess I said it. Cats are children with fur coats. And then people will go by my booth and go, well, what about dogs? What about dogs? And I'd say, well, I've never heard it that way. And then I went, well, Susan, you could write it that way. So here's one. Dogs are children with fur coats. And then I have a lot more on cats and dogs. Here's one. If you want the most comfortable chair in the house, move the cat. So I have many on cats, music, dogs, dance, wine, cooking, friendship, etc. And I often do special orders. So let's move on to some photography examples, okay? How are you guys doing out there? Thank you for continuing to listen if you're still there. This is it was done by digitally connecting and overlaying a series of shots of the ceiling of the Detroit Institute of Arts, altering the color and so on. And how it landed on the page I thought was really cool. So I didn't try to crop into it or anything. Next time you go to the DIA, I'm sure you've done this. If you've been there, look up at that beautiful ceiling. And it's like Wedgwood stuff up there. I don't know, it's just gorgeous. We did mention having from Tiffany, somebody named Tiffany just said, thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Tiffany. I'm going to take questions at the end, I think. So these are some alternative processes. This is called a cyanotype, cyan for blue. And this is how photographs were done in the 1800s, so on. It has a lot of steps. Besides taking the shot with a kid's camera called a Holga, Holga, which has about 4 settings: close, far away, bright light, and overcast. It's pretty funny. Then processing that film in the darkroom, then making a digital negative, which you then put on the paper that you're going to expose it, and that's this paper that I put the negative on. This paper was coated with cyanotype chemicals and then placed in the sun to develop. So this is one of my kitty. The blue edge is distinctive of a cyanotype coating where there's no image being developed on top. Anyway, I told you there were a lot of steps. Okay, here's another one. This is just some lilacs. And then I did add some watercolor to these because I really didn't want everything to just be solidly blue, although they look really cool that way sometimes. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you another process. It's called Polaroid print transfers. These were taken from slides that I took, then processed on Polaroid film, and printed that image on watercolor paper, then added watercolor. So it's kind of involved process as well, and it's again all done by hand. So they end up being one of a kind. But what I've done, because now the film is really, you can't really get it, and the process is kind of gone by the wayside unless you take alternative photography. I have done some digital scans of them, and I can make what's called a giclée. So a giclée is a technique of printing on the computer, but it's high quality ink that's spurting onto the paper, and on watercolor paper, again, high quality watercolor paper. And my printer assures me that these are archivally correct for hundreds of years. Anyway, here's another one. It's kind of pretty. I'm going to turn it. It's a hollyhock, and a hollyhock means a happy home. So I think that's pretty nice. Here's one in Vienna, and these are some horses and some of the buildings there. And as you can see, it gets kind of blurry and kind of sepia tone some places, which is that nice old-fashioned brownish color. Here's a building in Florence. Again, hearkening back to my dad's, what I mentioned about my dad loving to travel. Can you see this? And I go back in here and do watercolor and kind of tighten up some of the lines. This you might recognize. This is, it looks like the gondolier in Venice. My husband and I had a wonderful time going on that gondolier trip. The only thing is I found out later that every time you pass a bridge, you're supposed to kiss each other. Boy, I missed out on some opportunities there. Okay, here's the last one I'm going to show you of the Polaroids. This, am I getting it in the screen? Okay. This one is Notre Dame, taken from what the boat is called, the bateau, which means boat, mouche. I don't know what mouche means. And it takes you up the river in Paris and you get to see all these landmarks. So the photograph was taken up from an angle. This is some years ago. And that's all of those. I've done hundreds of them, maybe not hundreds, but enough that they're really interesting. To me anyway, I love doing them. And these are my last images that I'll show you. I have a lot of fun designs with hearts. I've done angels. I used to do an angel every year because I figured we needed them. Last year I did one that was angel and I titled it Help. Wow, we really need it. So she's really pretty, but I don't have her handy and it's really a huge painting. So then I've done a lot of different things with hearts. This is just an acrylic. See if I can get that on the screen. Yes or no? Is it there? So it's just a design. I just love playing with designs and color. So this is kind of a large one, maybe, I don't know, 9 by 12. And I love the titles that I come up with. One of them I did was called Wrapped Up with Love. And I wrapped up the letters around the design and put LOVE, and then people have to find it. It's my little magical tour they have to take. These are some little ones. Very tiny. They're really only 5 by 5 inches with the mat. And I don't even know if you can't read the writing in there, but they all say, still about love. So here's one. And I've just done tons of them. I'm having so much fun with these. This is another one. Is that in there? No. Yes? Speak to me.
Raise it up a little bit, Susan. It was a little low.
Okay.
It was a little low.
How about here? Is that
Perfect.
better?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. Thank you. These are 5 by 5 again. Here's another 5 by 5. Is that good? And that's, believe it or not, you can find these little frames in some local craft stores. They're all different. They're all one of a kind. And here's the last one. Let's see. That's good? Okay, and they're all called Still About Love. They're kind of like my most recent little heart things, and I'm just having so much fun doing them. Okay, again, my name is Susan Hamady, Hamady. When I got married, I already had Susan Hamady on a lot of my paintings, and my husband's last name was pretty long. So he said, just keep your last name. I said, okay. Anyway, thank you for hanging in there. You can contact me through my website, www.susanhamady, Hamady, sorry, .com, or just type in my name and you should find me. I just set up a little online store. I've been doing that for about a year. I have 8 things up there. We'll see how it goes. It should be fun. So if there is time, I can answer some questions now and or email you separately.
Susan, so one question. You work in so many different mediums. What is your favorite and why?
It depends on which one I'm working in at the time, and that would be my favorite that time. But basically, I did start out with watercolor. That is a favorite. I love layering it. I'm always learning how to do it. And my stepdad was my tutor, kind of. He taught art at Cass Tech. He ran the art department there. That's a really good school in Detroit. and set up the art program at Macomb. I took other classes, of course, and went to college, but he helped found the Michigan Watercolor Society. So I just felt like I was pretty adept at it. For some reason, I took to it like a duck to water. Oh, so, never mind. That was a bad joke. So I love doing it. I'm still doing it. I work with other people and do it. When I do photography, I love the results. I especially love the hands-on result, but it's a painful process because there's so much technical stuff in it, and I'm finally getting on top of that and coming up with some cool things. But I still want to go back to putting watercolor and paint in my photography. So I would guess probably painting is more what I love, but then when I do photography, people really love that. You can acknowledge me anytime and I can quit talking.
And then last question, what do you like doing what do you like about art fairs? What interests you about doing them?
I like art fairs because I like being in the sun. I like seeing people. I love talking to people. People think my jokes are really funny. One lady was saying, "Oh, you should do stand-up," which I've studied a little. So she said that I stood up in my chair. I said, "Okay." I don't know. I mean, it's just fun to interact with people, especially. And I get this, I like the idea that people can approach you easily and look at your work. And so that was my questions. It says chat 7 on the screen.
Oh, yep. There were people thanking you for sharing. One commenter loved your landscapes and the picture in the background.
Oh.
So yeah, so you had some good comments there. So thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this.
Remind people again where they can get your work if they wanted to.
Come to the Ann Arbor Summer Art Fair.
Yeah.
Look online, Susan Hamady, HAMADY.com.
And we're all hoping for better days and
Yeah.
to be out there in Ann Arbor this summer. So
Yeah, and I have a little store there. They can always contact me, plus art shows. You know, I have a list of shows I'll be doing.
and those will be on your website as well.
They are right now, yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Susan. Enjoy your Friday.
Thank you. It was awesome to see you.
Yeah, you too. We'll
Okay,
talk to you soon.
You're clicking me out of here now, right?
I'm going to click you out. Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Watch if you want to.
Thank you.